everybody. Adam from Atlas Gunworks. Talking about 40 caliber and 9mm, and then a little history on a Sight Block 40 gun. This old gun came traded in for a new version. So the whole world was focused on 40 caliber for a period of time, mostly because the FBI was using that, and the police departments across the country seem to follow the FBI, and then everybody thinks a lot of the world follows whatever the FBI did. And the history of that is there was a shootout in the early 80s with some bank robbers. The FBI, a lot of the guys had 38s. They weren't effective. FBI has the 10mm developed. They use it for a little bit. It doesn't work that well, or it's too much recoil, and the guns weren't really, a lot of pressure. The guns, it wasn't working, I think mostly for the recoil. And then they have 40 caliber, which is just a short 10mm developed. And that is the gun for quite a while. And then a couple of things happen. I think the realization that 40 cal is maybe not as good in tactical situations. There's a lot of data over the last 30, 40 years about they're starting to take data from crime scenes and shootouts, mostly involving law enforcement. And they're getting data back that, hey, the 40 cal bullets, the bigger bullet going a little slower is maybe less effective than the smaller, faster bullet. In that period of time, 9mm also has some major ammo developments where there's better projectiles, better bullets, and better powder combinations where they can keep the pressure reasonable. And so the biggest difference if you're running the same gun, right, whether it's one of these or a Glock or whatever, your grip size in your handle in the gun is the same size. So the 9mm holds 2 more rounds typically in most configurations. Some it's even more, some it's a little less, but 2 round, it's +2 in almost every setup. And so 2 more rounds is a big tactical advantage. And then the other big tactical advantage for 9mm is that it's less recoil. If you're shooting the standard ammo. And so 9mm is great, and it's also very cost effective, much more cost effective than 40. So the beauty of 9mm for the general population is train with regular 9mm ammo. If you need defensive or tactical ammo, you move up to +P or +P+. Our guns eat that ammo up no problem, you know, if you keep it in reasonable amounts. Don't shoot 10, 20,000 of those, but if you're training with regular ammo and you're shooting +P when you need to, you can expect that these guns will do 100,000 rounds, get a new barrel, do another 100,000 rounds. There'll be some maintenance in the middle, but the guns are easily doing 200,000 rounds. The 40 cal, the pressures are higher. It's a much more violent gun to shoot, and you get 2 less rounds in the gun. So the whole world's making the shift back to 9mm because the FBI shifted back to 9mm. So all the police departments are following, and now 9mm is the thing. For those of us who are paying attention, what happened in the middle was 357 SIG. So 357 SIG is these two things married. It's the 40 cal case neck down to a 9mm size bullet, 356. 9mm is 355, but effectively the same thing. And the 357 SIG tactically was really great because it had a ton of penetration. It was a small bullet going fast. Well, we can make +P+ 9mm do what 357 SIG did and get 2 more rounds in the gun. And that 357 SIG didn't feed that well. And 9mm +P+ feeds like regular 9mm if you do it well. So there's this huge transition back to 9mm. The sporting guns, this is built for USPSA limited division. And then this is an Apollo that's ported, so it doesn't play well in USPSA, but its sister, the Athena, would be the version you'd run in USPSA. So this owner traded this old gun in, which we'll talk about just how kind of cool this gun is, a little bit of history. That's a 2016 40 cal. This gun is an Apollo, which is our premium gun now, probably the most versatile gun that we make, probably, maybe even in the world. This gun will do everything except competition. There's some competitions you can't have the ported barrel, or it puts you in the class you don't want to be in. But this gun is absolutely phenomenal to shoot, and it's simple. There's no block, there's no comp. The porting does 90%, 99% of what comps do without the complication. And so there's this huge shift. And so somewhere around 2020, our customer base becomes a little more general firearms and less competition. And so once that's happening, everybody wants 9mm. And so I actually started at that time training with 9mm, not 40 cal. And I was shooting matches with 40 cals and kind of just dealing with the recoil difference in between. But the 9mm ammo is cost effective. It's a NATO round. They make so much of it. It's way more available, way more cost effective. And it's softer and easier to train with, and I get 2 more rounds in the gun. So as that transition's happening, we're just seeing everyone shifting to 9mm. and it makes sense. On on paper, 9mm wins every day. And in the real world, I think 9mm wins every day. It can do everything. And so 40 cal, if it's not dead yet, is going to be dead here in the next couple of years. This video is filmed in 2025. Almost all the PDs have moved away from it. And so the other problem with 40 is they were making a fair amount of ammo for all these PDs and the FBI. And a lot of people were buying the guns. Now they're not. So the ammo is going to only become more expensive because they're making less. But the 40 cal is so violent that we developed these sight block guns. And I saw a picture of a cool sight block concept gun on the internet, probably made in the 90s. And that's what gave us the idea. So we did one for fun, and then it turned out the gun was so soft to shoot. You're like, oh, everyone's going to want this. So for a long time, and we probably cut our teeth in limited guns for USPSA and 40 cal because we were putting these blocks on. And the block really just works as a counterweight. So these guns are so snappy that the guns really benefit from having some weight out front and slowing down the reciprocating or lightening up the slide just a little bit. Because as the slide moves back, now it's all loaded up here, and then you got this chunk forward. So, all that energy is coming back. And so what we're always chasing is that perfect zero, right? So the gun's going to lift and come back. It's a combination of a bunch of things, but the sight block made that a lot easier in 40 cal. It's less necessary in 9mm because I'm not bleeding off nearly as much energy. And so if you look at a firearm as a system, you really want the system to work. So if this gun, let's say that this gun was 10mm and we built a very few 10mm guns, the bullets are too long and they don't feed well in the magazines. It's not, the guns eat them up nicely, but the magazines don't. The magazine's just too narrow front to back. So if you have one of those, they're ultra rare and ultra valuable. If you had this gun in 10mm with all that extra power and you still couldn't hit anything with it, who cares? So if you look at it like a system like that, these guns, especially like a ported Apollo, are so easy to shoot. You're going to get more rounds on target. So whether that's target practice, competition, defense, or tactical, the easier gun to shoot is the one you're going to want. It's a better system. And so everyone's moved away from 40. This gun came in on trade. Person traded it for the sister gun on Athena to this so they could shoot competition. So 40 cal had a brief or a period of time, 20 or 30 years probably, where it was popular. It will fade to nearly non-existence, with the exception of there's a lot of 40 cal guns out there. So the whole world's moving back to 9mm. There's really no reason to shoot a 40 caliber gun. And so I came to that conclusion some years ago, but some of the competitions took a while to catch up. So USPSA now has a limited optics division. So that's the second half of this conversation, is optics. You've got a whole bunch of different things going on with optics. In 2015, when we started the company, no one was doing optics. I think in 2015 and 16, we built one optics slide mounted gun. Now we used to do them on the open guns where they're mounted on the frame, but on the frame, they don't have that reciprocating problem, right? So what's hard about an optic on a slide is the barrel unlocks, and then there's this big inertia hit this way, and then it hits. So it's on this gun, that's going to be the bottom of your slide hitting the guide rod here, and there's an immediate stop. We use shock buffs, which definitely soften that. That helps a lot, and that helps the gun from beating itself up too. So shock buffs are important for that reason, but they do help with the optics. And then it's got to slam forward and have an immediate stop. So this thing's getting ping pong, for lack of a better term, around. So in 2015, 16, the sights weren't good enough. You put a sight on a gun, shoot it for 10,000, 5,000 rounds, the sight would break, you get another sight, whatever. The sights just weren't good enough. Come into 2020 and the sights are starting to get good enough and everyone wants them. Fast forward to 2025, the sights have been figured out. They're going to get a lot better. We're in the adolescence of this, but in 2020, we were in the infancy of these sights being actually able to be usable. So the sights are the future. So almost every gun we do now has, our RDS sight plate system, and almost every gun you see in the marketplace has some kind of MOS system. And the sights are only going to continue to get better. So what is probably here to stay for a very long time is the 9mm platform with some kind of plate system. And almost everybody on the planet has moved to dots. Whether you like dots or not, it is the way it's going. This is the future of firearms. It's a nice upgrade, and I think if you look at this thing in a totality, whatever firearm you're doing for whatever competition or any of those other applications, it's a system, and this system is the most productive for almost every person on the planet. I'm not a huge fan of shooting dots, but I'm shooting dots these days because it works, and everyone else is shooting dots, and where the competition is dots. So it's important to learn how to shoot a dot. It's a different setup. It's a different way to shoot. But the entire packages of the guns have gotten so much better. And 9mm only helped, and dots are only going to help going forward.